Looking at the matter from the standpoint of the laws, we're talking about the Electoral Act and the Constitution here. We're now being joined by another lawyer, Mr. Emeka Onohwakpor. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've been following this, and when they did break, what were you thinking of? First, it was an inconclusive election. It was followed by the unfortunate death of late Audu, the All Progressives Congress candidate. And now, for some lawyers like yourself, they have termed this a logjam. Some are also asking that perhaps we should be thinking of another way of bringing in a solution to this matter. What's the solution, constitutionally speaking, or should we be thinking of something quite different from what we have?
You see, for me, we have to retrace our steps. Unfortunately, the Constitution and the Electoral Act did not provide for a situation where a candidate dies before the result is declared. And since you don't have that, you have to come back to where you were before you ran into that logjam. And for me, there is now a lacuna. So if you have nowhere to go, you start from your safe point. Your safe point is trace your step back and conduct a fresh election. Because you need to look at what the people want in that state. That state is a peculiar state. The deputy governor, the deputy governorship candidate, if he ran on his own, is not likely to be the candidate for governorship because the party has zoned the governorship ticket to a particular zone where he is not from. His own area has like 20% of the population. So he cannot win if he's fielded. And you know, if you look at the case of Ararume, the Supreme Court has held that it's the party that determines who their candidate is. They should just follow the guidelines set down by the law. So I don't see that APC is likely to field the deputy governorship candidate. They are not likely to, because if they do, they will lose. The other option open...
You're very certain of that?
Exactly. Yes, because you see, in a state where, if you look at the history of Kogi State, the minority has not provided the governorship candidate. And the governorship candidate is from the minorities, from, is it Kaba or so? They have only 20%. If the whole 20% vote for him, because if you look at the way governorship races are run in some other states, they are run along tribal lines. Even within a state, there are divisions. Some will say, oh, for like in Delta State, if there was no compromise, Okowa would probably not have won. Because the two candidates that ran against him were from the majority tribe, but they now had two candidates that divided the votes. So if everybody in one tribe vote for you and they have 80%, you are not likely to win.
In other words, you're talking about a situation whereby the political parties always look out for the numbers where they can get the most vote.
Yes.
But how do you put this in perspective, knowing full well that once we had a minority as a president of the country, and can the party also bring about that kind of zoning formula to the extent that even if the running mate is from the minority, he too can fly the party's flag, just the way Mr. Pinheiro has suggested?
Well, it's left for the party. Like I said before, the Supreme Court says it's the party that determines how they produce their candidate. For in their own wisdom, they zoned it outside the zone of Fakeye or so. And, you know, it's not hereditary. The law has to be specific on something. That which is not included is excluded. So if the law does not provide for a candidate, a deputy governor candidate, to step into the shoes of a governorship candidate when he has not won the election. You see, the law provided for before and after you win, but not during the race.
In this case here now, Mr. Perry believes that the votes have been garnered for the party, and as such, the party should not lose those votes. Do you agree with him?
You see, it's not enough to say the party should not lose those votes. It's an uphill task, because when you allow something to roll, it will keep rolling and you can't stop it. Now, the INEC has declared the election inconclusive. Once it's inconclusive, the person who should be on the ballot will not be on the ballot as the candidate. That's Audu. Now, on what leg is INEC going to stand? You see, there must be a precedent for something. The only uphill task they can do, is go legally and say, look, even this supplementary election you want to do, it's not provided for by law. The Electoral Act did not provide for it. But you need to challenge that up to the Supreme Court. And if you win at the Supreme Court, what happens to all those other states where supplementary elections were done?
Mr. Onohwakpor, please let me ask. Some argue that, like you said, the supplementary elections are not provided for by law. That means this whole conundrum was created by INEC in the first place. Do you agree that INEC has mismanaged the electoral process over time? We had the case in Anambra, Imo, those states, before Kogi State now, that there were not enough grounds because there was a clear leader. Would you say the electoral process has been mismanaged by INEC?
Well, you see, I would not use the word mismanaged. You know, when issues come up, you look for solutions. The then INEC chairman may have given a directive that, look, if the number of void votes are more than the number the candidate leading is leading with, it calls to reason that, look, let's do a rerun, because those void votes could have been voided wrongly, or for some reason they couldn't vote. You know, so the only problem is the legislators need to be more sure-footed. We need to be more dynamic. We need to be changing the laws faster and envisaging new things. There's no reason why the Electoral Act should not have been amended to incorporate supplementary elections.
I'll take you back again. When we spoke to Mr. Pierre, he was basing his argument on Section 181 of the Constitution that says when a candidate is duly elected. Would you say this candidate was duly elected?
No.
Seeing that INEC declared the election inconclusive. Now, what should be the next best thing to do? Because it's as though you lawyers are torn between go forward, don't go forward. Some cite the Amechi case, and the Amechi case as being a precedent that should be followed through. But what's your take?
Amechi's case is different.
What makes it different?
You see, in Amechi's case, it's not like somebody died. A day or two to the election, they removed his name at very short notice. And the court said, no, this other person you put his name could not have campaigned in less than 1 week and won. So it's the party. And this person, Amechi, followed the procedure. He was duly nominated as their candidate. He was campaigning. Suddenly they removed his name. So you cannot tell me that it's not the party they voted for. Because in 1 week, somebody whose name wasn't there, suddenly his name came in. And the Supreme Court saw it as an aberration. And they, you know, when certain things happened, they looked for a way to cure they looked for a remedy.
But